It's the middle of winter. Conditions are harsh, fierce and extremely treacherous. So that's why we've come indoors to the Ice Factor in Kinlochleven for the Go Fast UK Ice and Mixed Climbing Championships. Thank you.
We strongly advise you not to put the axe over your shoulder when you're swapping. The reason for that is if you fall off with an axe over your shoulder, then it might hurt.
Also in this month's adventure show, we're off to the Alps to enjoy the winter at a slightly slower pace. We discover what it takes to create an outstanding and award-winning climbing movie, and we find out why romance is in the air for Scotland's peregrine falcons, and the difficulties true love brings. But first, the Ice and Mixed Climbing Championships. Two events make up this year's competition: technical ice climbing and that most esoteric of all disciplines, dry tooling. This is one of the strangest forms of climbing, as competitors have to battle their way up the wall using ice axes and heavy climbing boots instead of their hands and rock shoes. It may sound bizarre, but it is a great spectator sport. And the action starts from the very beginning with the qualifiers, and there's no one better to help me explain the intricacies than former rock hotshot Duncan McCallum.
Most people think of ice climbing as being something quite brutal and harsh, but it's very, very subtle and quite delicate, especially on true dry tooling.
I'm a bit worried about that.
Preparation's very important, looking at all the different options, making sure you haven't missed a hold when you're preparing to do the problem is very, very important. And also, when you're on the move and it doesn't go right, be adaptable. Try and be aware that you can change your mind. There's a lot of people try problems and they get stuck in a hold. So Scotland's version of Jack Osborne, Mike Shorter. So he's making short work of the start of this problem. Let's see if he can go straight up. So a nice long reach, and you want to take your feet up onto the top carpeted hold and hope that doesn't pop out.
Here's the big stretch for the last.
Yeah. Why resort to technique when you've got power? You just keep nice and balanced. It's a very, very, very delicate. That's it, matched, and that's it over. Whoops.
Take cover, Mike.
So, with 2 seconds to spare.
So Fiona Murray, those of you who remember the programme from last year here at the Ice Factor, Fiona quite a vocal climber. When she gets in problems, you usually hear her shouting out. But starting off fairly quietly.
Fiona's one of the strongest and most experienced competitors, and they're very, very confident there. Just, totally unconcerned about the leverage on the tools, totally aware that what they can and can't do. She said she was a wee bit nervous before she started the problem, but a bit of a stretch for her here. Yeah, that's in. And that's not going to come out of there now.
No, just get the other axe in. Easy peasy. Comfortably done.
One of the tougher problems. And he's gone straight into the smallest hold rather than the one with the deep hook just to the right. It's in. Oh, it's a little touch. Judges let him away with that, considered he was under control.
That is a major recovery if he manages to hold on here.
Yeah, this is... Tony's very, very strong, obviously. And quite a complicated problem. This is probably the hardest problem in the competition so far. So you can see Tony's shoulders are working overtime here. Go on. Just needs to hit that edge. Oh. There'll be one more of those and then he's off, I think. Oh, yes. A valiant attempt. Well, I think we'll be seeing Tony in the final no matter what happens.
So both climbers and spectators are all set for a great day here at Kinlochleven. This competition has attracted a huge range of climbers, from Scotland's best to youngsters as young as 9 just entering the sport. It's great to see them making their mark, but it's proved a real challenge for the route setters. Earlier this year we joined Scotland's leading climber Dave McLeod on the Fife coastline. Dave's recently completed the hardest traditional rock route in the world, so there's no one more qualified for the task of route setting here at Kinlochleven.
You've got to place the holes in the wall in a way that you can split the competitors up. So the idea is that everyone gets a feeling that they've got on the route and they've got some climbing done. So the first few moves are quite easy. The next section to be a kind of energy sapper, so quite powerful moves, so that people that aren't so fit will start to really struggle. And then beyond that, you'll have some quite technical moves where you have to be really precise. And that's when you start to get people splitting up and people falling off. And then right at the very end, you want one really powerful and technical move.
Looking at all the young competitors, the junior competitors as well, there's a massive height difference in some of them. Some 8 and 9 year olds and some up to much older.
They're incredible. They're not intimidated or nervous at all. For this type of climbing, because you're holding onto big handles, it kind of favours the people that are really strong, powerful. But then you've got to carry that weight up the whole of the wall, and the people that are quite light and skinny can just hang on forever.
Now this competition is an ice and dry tooling competition.
So
I mean, the techniques are obviously going to differ for the different types of surface that you're actually on, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for dry tooling, you've got to have super sharp axes, and you're trying to get the pick of your tool to bite in. And if you're holding the bottom handle of your tool,
and twist it,
you can see that if I hold the bottom angle, the pick wants to bite in like that. But as soon as you go top handle, it gives you more reach. But the problem is the balance point shifts. See how it's more flatter on my hand?
All right.
So it has more tendency to slide off. So you'll see that the best competitors will be on the bottom handle a lot, and they'll be really careful to stay low on the axes, because the higher you get, the more likely they are to pull out the way in the holes, and they'll ping off.
I've noticed quite a few of the competitors today as well on the back end of the axes have basically padded them up.
Yes, I know.
You can understand why.
You can understand why. I mean, you can see I've got the scars here and here myself. This was from the speed comp 2 years ago, and this was when I was climbing in Switzerland. So that's just tools popping out and hitting me in the face. So you've got to be really careful. I think most people that do a lot of this, they've had 1 or 2 bumps here and there.
We'll be back with the action at Kinlochleven in just a few minutes. The weather doesn't matter indoors, but outside it's been as unpredictable as ever, with an ever-increasing wait for the white stuff. But not to be deterred, we've been in search of the best winter conditions. We've been to the Alps, not to ski, but to sample a traditional way of winter travel in the mountains, using snowshoes, and it's having a big revival.
It's not just for grannies and more mature people. You see young dudes jumping off small crags on a powder day with their snowshoes on. You can run down a slope with the powder flying everywhere, having a great time.
Today, this sport is definitely a long way from a monotonous plod up the hill, but as Lindsay Cannon's discovered, it's a modern sport rooted in the past.
In 1991, when they found Ötzi, the Iceman, in the glacier on the Italian-Austrian frontier, he was wearing snowshoes. So they reckon Ötzi, dated to 2500 BC, was wearing snowshoes. The fantastic thing for me about snowshoes is that it's non-elitist in a way. You don't have to be a skier. You don't have to have that technical ability. You don't have to be a winter climber, a mountaineer. It's just so peaceful to be somewhere like this and just having a slower pace, getting the chance to look around and see what's going on. I love the fact as well that in the winter you can see the animal tracks in the snow and you can tell what they've been up to. Sometimes you see a hare track and then you'll see a fox track and you think, uh-oh, poor old hare, the fox is after him. And so we came through the woodland, and then after a while you come out into the Alpage, this summer meadow, and it's a lovely big flat area and it's really open. One of the things I do love is the sensation that as you're walking across this mantle of snow, you've got this life growing underneath the snow, because in summer, the area just below us will be covered in the most wonderful display of alpine flowers. And because they have an incredibly short growing season, the colours are really, really vibrant. The gentian blues, the yellows, the purples, the reds. And to me, that's just a nice feeling that I'm floating, well, kind of floating along in my snowshoes. And underneath this mantle of snow, there's all the growth going on. Absolutely stunning. You can see right down the Rhone Valley. It's heading off into Lake Geneva in that direction. We have Verbier ski area just ahead in the cloud. And you can just see the ice shining through directly above that rocky ridge is the Aiguille de Tour. I mean, to be able to just walk up here on snowshoes, just strolling along and get to somewhere like this is just fantastic. The snowshoe today is no longer made of wood and leather. It's actually quite a high-tech piece of kit. So on the bottom, we have 6 studs, which is like your crampons, if you like, which keeps them very secure going downhill. On the front, we have a claw, 3 prongs. So on steep ground, I'm digging in and moving up, much as I would with a set of crampons. Now, obviously, there are times when the snow is pretty soft, and even with snowshoes, you're going to sink down a little bit, but it's nothing compared to what it would be like if you weren't wearing snowshoes. As you can see, it's quite a lot harder. So, I can't believe this, right up to my thighs. It's really misleading, because going along with these, you know, it's given me a platform on which to stand. I'm not going anywhere very fast. Here in the Alps, there's loads of people do it, but you could argue, I guess, that snowshoes are very suited to Scotland, because our snow level, well, it tends to be quite high up, doesn't it? You've got to walk quite a way sometimes to get to the snow, and they're just so light that all you do is stick them on the back of your rucksack, and when you get to the snow level, put them on. This is just beautiful, really beautiful. No one else around. Wow.
And if you want to find out more about snowshoeing in the Alps, log on to tracks-and-trails.com. Back to Kinloch-Leven and the Ice and Mixed Climbing Championships. This year the finals are made up of 2 climbs. Dry tooling will finish off the competition, but first the ice. Here competitors must make sure axes and crampons stay within the marked zones. With the women in isolation, route setter Dave McLeod's here to show us some of the trickiest parts of this climb.
Well, you've got to be super careful on this to stay within the areas, especially with your feet. If you get too flustered because you're losing strength and you're having to really concentrate and try hard, it's easy to make a mistake and place your feet outside the area. You've really got to try and predict where you want your tools to be to reach the next one. So it's all about kind of being able to visualise where you want to be in a couple of moves' time. You can find these hooks and you can save energy for higher up. This is quite a tricky move, bit of a stretch. Quite thin ice over the top here. So if folk are getting tired and they might end up getting a bit of a bad placement up here, you could come off. Now the key thing is to get this hook right in the corner. You'll see that when people get on these routes, you'll find a lot of people pulling up as high as they can and then realising that, oh no, my axe wants to be there, that they're in the wrong position, and then they have to spend 10, 20 seconds adjusting for their mistake. This is potential for people to foul, because they've got to make a really high step with their left foot here. Point still, plenty of energy left. And again, just a little moment to get composure back and see, can I reach the finishing hold from this point, or do I have to move my axes again? I reckon I can just about reach it. And a bit of a lock off. You've got to be careful here, because if you lock off too much, you might pull this axe out, so I've got to stay as low as I possibly can. There we go, sorted. Okay, perfect. Okay, take.
And that's all there is to it.
Brilliant.
And starting off the women's ice finals is Rachel Hutchison, a student from Tayport. And each competitor has 6 minutes to make their mark on the ice wall.
And we started climbing 3 to 4 years ago.
So Rachel using hyper modern mixed climbing tools and lightweight competition boots. Now this is the tough move.
It's a big move for Rachel. Not the tallest climber. She has to get her foot inside that green area. That's a big, big stretch. Get the toe in. Yeah, she's in. Very strong hand positions now.
That's a good position, but the next move is the tough one, I think. Full body weight, and then you got to pretty much lock off in the. That would do me.
Very well done. This is going to start to hurt. This whole body on the long arm.
Oh. So Alison says she likes climbing in Gogarth, which is one of the scariest places in Wales. So, experienced.
Slow start there, probably lost about 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Remember, of course, the axe. That's a foot kicked out of bounds there, so she'll have to come down and start again. And that must be so frustrating because you had the axes in the high point and then slid out. So Alison has to stretch across. So that'll be 5 points. If she gets another axe across there, it'll be 10 points.
Matched placement. That's not so sensible.
But
Another.
it scores though.
Give it a good thump. Yeah, that would do me. A big. Yeah. And this is going to be the difficult move, I think.
And she
Run out of time.
I can't believe I went straight out the red area. As soon as I got on it, I could see where I needed to go. But pretty annoying in other words.
Here's Anna, 17 years old. Has been 4th in the UK.
In the juniors.
In the juniors.
But again, Anna has a pretty impressive on-site of 7A+, which is really good going. And has climbed pretty much all over France.
Anna's searching for the hook holes that are already there rather than battering in. Saving the energy for later on.
We hope.
That's the plan anyway.
A wee hand swap might be in order. So Anna's wearing some super lightweight competition ice climbing boots.
She's going to have to really watch where she puts the crampon on the right foot there, so slipping towards the... She's now right on the line with the right foot and just below the line with the left, so she can't go much higher without swinging across.
So, again, a lot of these girls showing a little bit of inexperience.
She managed to hang on to that.
Placements, but
that was a very, very fortunate bit of strength there.
so her height obviously an advantage in the lower part, but it'd be much more difficult with long limbs to lock in.
Oh my goodness, that's
flexibility.
very, very strong.
What's that right foot?
I think the
Go on,
judge has
thump
been
it
ever
into
so
the
slightly
points.
lenient there. She's definitely, the crampon has touched outside the green area.
And
Again, that's incredibly strong. No swapping of hands there. Oh, that's definitely foot. Well done. That's
it was a determined
a
performance.
real determined effort there. I'm sure the elbows were a wee bit scratched there.
So I hope we'll see an impressive performance here. Fiona, extremely experienced, been ice climbing pretty much all over the world, in Canada, Switzerland, Italy, and of course some very impressive ascents in Scotland in the last couple of years.
Arms there.
Good lock off. Nice solid placements. That's so deep, that's not going to come out.
And just watching the way that Fiona places the axes, she's swinging straight in and they go in and stay in.
And also not much scrabbling around with feet. Very positive.
So that's in the zone, is it?
find the secret placement. It's going to make all the difference.
And perhaps change the hands, that's it.
Both hands on the axe there.
And she'll have to really get a move on to get anywhere near the top, but already
very solid though.
Already she is definitely miles in the lead. There's the minute call. So,
just resting your knee in the...
And that's well within the rules to do that, just to balance the body, as long as the crampon doesn't go in outside the zone.
Go on, get it in.
That's
good.
A big stretch. So a big step up here. And she could get into the... Oh!
Go on, Fiona.
That's very
Thump it
good.
in.
15 seconds.
Both axes, come on.
10 seconds at the top.
Oh. And that's it.
That's it. Time up.
Well done. A top out for Fiona Murray. Congratulations. Just right on the wire there.
Gosh.
That's 90 points, and that was a supreme effort. So the first half of the ladies' final, it's Rachel Hutchison with 40 points, Alison Banwell on the same, Anna Wells on 60, but Fiona Murray topping out, 90 points for her. She will be very tough to beat on the dry tooling wall.
Last month in the Adventure Show, we followed the trials of Nikki Wright and Lindsay Cannon as they struggled through the 24 hours which make up the Strathpuffer Winter Bike Marathon. And you may remember that helping them out in their ordeal and leading their support team was Maeve Patterson.
Nikki's going out, Lindsay.
When Lindsay asked me to be base camp mum, I thought, gosh, I've not really been a base camp mum. I've usually been out doing the adventure.
Next year, Maeve celebrates her 70th birthday. She's been a wife, mother and nurse, but 2 decades ago she realised that this just wasn't enough. So back in 1991 she began the journey, literally, of a lifetime. All 9,000 miles of it.
Adventure was always in my soul, and my sister had been over from Australia, and I decided that one day I would bike out to Australia to see her, and that's what I did. So many people were saying it's ridiculous at your age too, at 52, I mean, good Lord. It's not old, is it? Look at me now. But I had this determined streak in me, and I thought I could do it. It was across America, which is 4,500 miles, and then island hopped Hawaii and Fiji, and then onto Australia and down. I was just loving every minute of it. You feel different, you feel free, and there's no pressure. Any worries you have, they've gone once you're on the bike and you're cycling along, you're singing and you're listening to the birds, and it's so wonderful, and anyone can do it. You know, it's just a different way of life, and well, for me it is life. The cabin I live in is very basic. It's all I need. I'll get up in the morning, I'll look out to the sea and the beautiful Mull of Galloway across there. It's just a perfect place to live. I used to go round to the Mull of Galloway a lot and looked at the cliffs and thought one day I'd love to abseil off the cliffs. So I got in touch with Macmillan Cancer Support. The team thought it would be too difficult to abseil off the cliff. It would require a boat at the bottom to take the people round. So we went for the lighthouse. The abseil itself was wonderful. The day was lovely, but it was the courage that was amazing. Several of the ladies had had cancer, breast cancer, and they had undergone chemotherapy, and they were there up at the top of that lighthouse and abseiling, and to me, I mean, it almost brought tears to your eyes because it was such a courageous thing, and it's not an easy thing to do that, to climb over the top, over the railing and then go down. I've been told settle down, and that's bad. I couldn't do that. I mean, I do appreciate my grandchildren. I spend a lot of time, I have grandchildren, and I do spend a lot of time, especially with my little William, who we fish just here, and we tell many stories.
Maeve's trips have taken her around the world, but she always comes back to this loch just a few miles from her home in Galloway, her special place.
This is such a perfect day. The ripple on the loch and the sun shining down, I mean, it's just so perfect. To think that The fish under the water, there's eels that come from the Sargasso Sea, and they're here for 5 years, and then they go back 5,000 miles back to the Sargasso Sea and spawn there and die, and the eels are under this water just now. It's always so quiet, and I would like people to come and enjoy it as much as me. You know, a lot of people are negative about so many things, but I'm an optimist. I've always been an optimist. I have so many plans, and I think, gosh, so little time and so much to do, and I have so much to do. There's so many things that I want to bike across Canada. I want to canoe in the Yukon River up in Alaska. It's so full, and there's so much to do, and I'm planning so many more adventures.
And Maeve sets off on her next adventure in a year's time. She plans to celebrate her 70th birthday with that cycle ride coast to coast across Canada. Here on The Adventure Show, we always bring you the best information about what gear and clothing to buy. As ever, our resident expert is Chris Townsend. And this month we are concentrating on the lower part of our body.
In summer, your legs don't matter that much in terms of keeping them warm, but in cold, windy weather like this, if you've got inadequate leg wear, you know, legs can get very, very cold, and that can be quite serious.
Before we look at insulated trousers, let's first of all talk about the 3-layer system, the one that I've got on. Long johns followed by a pair of Power Shield trousers.
The big advantage is the Power Shield is windproof and fairly water resistant. The big disadvantage is, what do you do if you start overheating?
Yeah.
Taking long johns off on the hill is not really feasible.
But the one thing for stopping, which I always have with me, is a big thick pair of over trousers, but that makes it a 3-layer thing.
Oh yeah, a pair of over trousers like this, especially ones with a zip, you can ventilate them if you need to. If you get a really bad storm, you'll get wet in those. If you're out for long enough, you can put these on as well. They'll keep your legs dry.
A pack-light version of the same trousers.
It's nice and light. That's the biggest advantage. So if it's in the pack most of the time, you're not carrying a huge weight. But you wouldn't want to use this for scrambling, or if you had to wear crampons, you know, it's very thin material, it's going to tear fairly easily.
Now let's look at the things you're wearing, because these are fantastic.
Well, these are Paramo ones, and this is actually 2 layers of material. So effectively, it's like having your 2 layers but in one, so it moves together as one. And you can see you've got a thin lining and a windproof outer. And I find these are warm enough by themselves, certainly down to -10. We don't often get below that. And they're waterproof as well.
Right, what do I want to go for next?
Similar to yours, but over trousers, probably even tougher, are these MacPack mountain pants. They're designed to be worn all day. You don't carry these in the pack in case you need them. See, they've got braces so they don't come down. Again, you've got water-resistant zips, but 2-way zips. You've got the built-in gaiter.
Because if the weather does get really, really nasty, these guys are going to keep you nice and toasty. These Rab ones are probably for wearing on their own, but they feel quite light, I mean, on the outside.
These are very good. I've used the jackets in this fabric quite a lot. And it's a windproof, showerproof outer, but it's like a base layer lining. It's almost like they've got the built-in long johns.
Sure.
So most of the time, certainly while you're moving, these would be warm enough on their own, and you carry a pair of over trousers to wear on top. Another option with the over trousers, these are Montane ones. They're more substantial than Packlight.
Yeah.
And as you can see, you've got reinforcements at the knees and the ankle as well for abrasion. Again, you've got the water-resistant 2-way zips in the leg, and they're reasonably light.
Price might be an option for people who walk into the hill. Of course it's going to be an option for many people. So what would you suggest in terms of the best value for money?
I'd say the Paramo is the best value for money, though not initially cheap. But that's simply because you can reproof them. They will last, you know, for years and years and years. The next one down would be this lined Pertex by Rab. Not that expensive, particularly if you wore it with the Packlight trousers. The most expensive option are the heavy-duty Gore-Tex trousers that you wear all the time, because you're talking 150, 250 pounds for trousers like this. And once the Gore-Tex wears out, that's it. They're not waterproof anymore.
Chris, obviously over trousers invariably aren't the most comfortable things to wear, and I suppose it's the sort of thing you might leave lying in the pack, or if you're slightly daft, leave them in the car, but I would imagine that's not something you'd advise.
And you get caught out in a bad winter storm without over trousers, the consequences can be serious.
Back indoors at the Ice Factor, and it's time for the final round in the women's competition, the dry tooling.
So as Alison steps onto the wall, she'll be looking to use the axes on blue carpeted holds and feet on circled holds. And the secret is to really find them. It's very important to give yourself a good mental map of where you're going.
Alison hasn't been climbing for 7 months. She just got back into climbing a month ago after a shoulder injury.
All right, and into an Egyptian, which is a comfortable foot position for the clip. But you got to remember, these girls all the competitors are using a stiff mountaineering boot, and the soles don't have much friction. And the right hand into the stein, push up, lock it in. You could get that really deep and get as much weight on that as you can.
That just fills me with fear, the way they hold on with both hands on an undercut axe like that.
You just hope. Oh! Well, the problem there was that she unweighted just as she's moving up. Relatively inexperienced, not done that much outdoor climbing, although she has climbed waterfall ice in the Alps.
And that waterfall was her first ice climb ever. Her second ice climb ever was the first round of this final when she scored 60 points. And she is lying currently in second position. So the next foot move is with the right foot, and it's quite high to the right. But remember the angle of this wall, it's overhanging as well. It's not just a straight up and down wall. It makes it all the tougher for the climbers.
So she has got enough time to finish this. Has she got enough strength? She's pretty composed.
Yeah,
it's a
she's looking
freaky
good.
Position up there.
She'll have to. Good strength. That's very strong. Very good indeed.
Just needs to
Kick
match
the legs
that.
over. Steady it out. Don't panic now. Keep it nice and composed.
Just looking a
Big
little
push
shaky
up.
now. Yeah, she's got tired hands. You can just see the way that they.
Well, the angle,
It's
the
a pretty
overhanging
pushy
angle.
performance.
That is very impressive. 70 points for Anna Wells. 70 points added to the 60 that she got in the first half. And that's 130 points for her.
The next climber is the one and only Fiona Murray.
If ever there was an overwhelming favourite to win this competition, it's Fiona Murray. But she has to get past that Stein pool, which is about 3 moves away now to take the title here at Kinlochleven. So here we go. Here's the Stein pool. Oh,
So if she locks this down, pulls it in, nice and slowly.
This is
no
it.
jerky
The next
moves.
one, if she gets the axe into this next hole, she is the champion. And she is. But it would be very nice indeed to see Fiona topping out. But the left leg sort of rattling a little.
But if she climbs past the bolt without clipping, that is an elimination.
Just so much more experienced than any other climbers here today. Can she top out on this route?
It's really nice to see somebody climbing confidently like that. Completely focused. She's not going to blow it in the last couple of moves.
Yeah, she's
It's
really.
always hard on a route when you're near the top. You get excited.
You can see her growing in confidence with every step she takes.
That's well done. Fiona Murray has won this
A top out,
women's event.
and that is an apt way to take the title of the Go Fast Ice and Mixed Climbing Championship 2007 here at the Ice Factor in Kinlochleven. Fiona Murray is champion by quite a large margin. Fiona, congratulations, a wonderful performance. You've really been head and shoulders above anyone else here today.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. You know, young Anna's sort of on her way up. And
Yeah, absolutely.
next year, I think she'll be beating me.
But in this year's competition, Alison Banwell took third place with 80 points, Anna Wells came in second with 130, and Fiona Murray gained maximum marks to come in first. Now it's the men's turn, and first up, it's the ice wall.
So here's Kevin. a bold and a very, very strong climber. Anybody who can solo E-flow rock routes deserves a lot of respect.
And anyone who goes in here in this cold environment with his sleeves rolled up deserves a lot of respect as well.
Is he from the West Coast?
He certainly is, sir. Yeah, it's got Kevin Shields from Dalry in Ayrshire.
That's good. That's takes a lot of weight off your arms, being able to bridge out to the right. So,
Just the rings all together, there's nothing else.
just matching. He'll need to match the tool there.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
And a big hook on top of that big boss. Oh. That might be a little awkward.
It's a big strong hold there, but it might not give him the right position to move on to the right hand section here. Well done. That's exactly right. And you can put the knee against. You can lean against.
Yeah, fine. Got it.
There we go. A fine Scottish technique. Woolly trousers would have been an advantage.
Get that right foot up.
So I think he's at plenty of time now. That's 1 foot, 2 foot. That's
well
done.
Well done. That's a very, very impressive performance by Kevin Shields there. Maximum points, 90 for him. Ali Rob from Edinburgh on his way. I think the quality of the ice seems to have improved as the climbers have gone through. There's holes there they can find.
That might be overcomplicating matters. Get a lot more height like that though.
Yeah, that belay rope could be in the way because he's going to come up over the top of that. Get it out of the way. Yes, that's right. His left foot is out of the area. That's disappointing.
So unfortunately that's it. It's caught a few people out that final foot position.
A strict but correct call, just outside the area with his left foot.
So Tony starting this looks as though he's worried about running out of time.
Well, if this was a timed competition, Tony would be miles ahead if he tops out, because this is very, very composed. He's got absolutely bags of time, 3.5 minutes still to go. Tony could fall off here and probably still get back up, but you wouldn't want to do that because that really will sap the strength for the second half of this final. So, watch for the feet.
Go on. Landing.
Oh, that's a tough call as well. That's a very, very tough call. Just caught the tip of the crampon on the ice there, outside the zone, and Tony will have to go back up again. He desperately wants to top out here, but is he going to sap his strength for the dry tooling section in the second half of the final?
Time. You've got 2.5 minutes.
Still has 2.5 minutes to get up to the top, but running up this route, which is pretty much what he's going to have to do now, is going to make him tired.
With a top 2-3 score here, he will be one of the last ones out of isolation, so there's plenty of time to recover for somebody of his.
Still in about an hour and a half's time, he's going to be on that dry tooling wall. He's definitely puffing now. Right, get that right foot over. Get the right foot
Go on.
over. That's just so strong and so sweet.
And has remembered the sequence very well indeed.
Just got the belay rope slightly below it. No, he's fine. That's amazingly fast and strong, isn't it?
It's pretty impressive. Onto the little nubbin with the right foot.
35
Plenty
seconds.
time to do this well.
Watch the tip. Watch the tip.
Just inbound
Watch
with the left foot and no more. Oh, there. Going for the dodgy swap. It's in.
Get that left hand in. Get this left hand in. Or swap it over and get the right foot on, and that's you top down. Get the right foot on. Get the left foot on.
You need both feet on the right.
What's off? What's finished? What's off? Down.
What?
Now, Tony will not get maximum points for that because he did not have both axes and both feet in the final zone, and he could have done that easily, but he just clearly didn't understand where he had to be at the finish point.
dropped 5 points, 85.
Still very impressive.
So at the end of this ice round, there's just a few points separating these top climbers. Tony Stone, Steve Johnson and Blair Fife all gained 85 points. 2 climbers topped out for 90 points, Rory McKenzie and Kevin Shields. A remarkable achievement for Kevin, as he was born with no fingers on one hand.
Maybe it's part of being born with a disability and stuff like that. You're always trying to test yourself just to see whether you can do. You just keep on going, but I don't do it for some stupid reason. I do it because I really believe that it takes me to the right core of climbing, the reasons why I climb. But it's progressed to now doing a lot of soloing, and I just think with doing that you get so much deeper into the sport of climbing, and I just realised that this whole new world of possibilities had opened up.
Pushing yourself to the limits and beyond is second nature to these top climbers. But when Dave McLeod spent month after month attempting the hardest traditional climb in the world, his every move was recorded by Edinburgh filmmakers Paul Diffley and Dave Brown.
One of the best days I had filming on E11 was when I was out with just Dave McLeod, and it was just one of these glorious days, and we just sat on this tiny little ledge at the top for a couple of hours just chatting, watching the world go by beneath us.
It took nearly 2 years to film and complete this climb, titled simply E11. The reward, 7 prestigious international awards. But making the film was as committing for the filmmakers as it was for the climber.
I'd worked in IT for like almost 10 years. I did give up all my security and I restructured my life, downsized I suppose you'd call it. I now live in a much smaller flat than I used to. But the plus side is I'm out filming, climbing all the time and editing and doing something creative and something I really enjoy. All the film we do is for real. It's climbers trying to climb something really hard for their own purposes, for their own benefit, not for us, not for the camera, to try to do it for themselves. So it's real emotion, so it makes it easier for us to capture some of that, I think.
A 15-minute bike ride links Paul's bedroom office with Dave's home. Between the two, the raw footage becomes a film. But theirs is a risky business.
The time delay between shooting the film, bringing it out, and actually eventually getting the money in is enormous. The first films we made on a part-time basis, we made with very modest equipment, but now that we're running a business, it's a pretty hefty investment up front to have the equipment to actually be able to make quality films.
Okay, so let's look at the bottom of the climb with the waves going, because that's the really atmospheric bit, isn't it?
One of the things we're very conscious of in all the films we've made is about telling a story. That's probably the single most important editing consideration.
Although we make climbing films, we want to make climbing films which appeal to everyone, not just climbers. And that is quite difficult because you don't want to patronise the actual climbers, your core market, but you want to make them enjoyable. By having a story, it means anyone can watch it, anyone can follow it if it's character-based.
We're well into filming now on our new film that's due out in the autumn, and so last week we were out on the Aberdeen Sea Cliffs doing some pretty scary routes.
And it was great to film on a sea cliff. It's so much more atmospheric. You know, the sound's amazing. You've got seagulls, you've got the waves, and when the climbers are still, the frame isn't still. You've got the waves crashing in and out.
One of the challenges of filming climbing is that unless a climber is on a route that's at their absolute limit of their ability, then they can tend to make the climbing look really easy, and if it looks really easy, it's not very entertaining. So yeah, we always try and put people on very difficult things, and the gamble for us is that often they'll fail, and we won't have a film.
I've actually developed a very nice technique of being able to sleep while hanging on a rope. You might be on a rope for 3 hours because it takes so long to get up there, and the climbers are having several attempts at the route, so you can't come down between each attempt, so you've got an hour while they rest and have a drink and relax. So I've developed a technique of sleeping on the rope now, where I sort of wrap my arms around it and kind of just nod off for half an hour.
It's very odd waking up though and thinking, where am I?
Yeah, that's a strange place to wake up, yeah.
In the early days of filming, I used to try and combine actually filming with going and doing some climbing myself, but I think we've both learned that really doesn't work. To film properly, then you need to just film, and when you're not holding the camera, you're thinking about your shots, and you just can't combine that with climbing yourself.
But even if you're not climbing, you're still out there, you're in the mountains, you're in these amazing places. and at least you're watching climbing. So it's still great to get out, you know, it still beats my old office job.
And to find out more about Paul and Dave's films, visit their website at hotakes.com.
So you've got 170, 180 foot cliffs. In the summertime, some fantastic wildflower meadow beneath the cliffs with just a riot of colour. And then of course you've got the North Sea as well.
In this month's wildlife feature, we've travelled east to the Aberdeenshire coastline. St Cyrus National Nature Reserve lies 6 miles north of Montrose. This is a haven for birds. Every year, over 65 species breed on these cliffs and dunes. Today, Rona McLeod's met up with reserve manager Andy Turner to find out more about 3 particular birds: the buzzard, peregrine falcon and the fulmar.
Fulmars stay out to sea for most of the year, and they'll come back for about 2 weeks and they'll stake a claim to their nest site. Then they'll disappear for another several weeks, possibly a month, and return to the same nest site that they staked the claim to, kind of like putting a towel on the beach abroad.
So it seems to work. They stake their claim and then they go away and no other fulmars take their place.
It seems to work, yeah. They'll come back for 2 weeks, stake their claim, put their towel down, disappear for a month, and then that'll be them until they've reared their chicks and then disappear off to sea for the rest of the year.
They're amazing when they're flying, aren't they? I mean, they really look quite distinctive with their wingspan, and they're quite delicate actually.
They're a bit different to other gulls because they'll keep their wings very, very straight. They're related to an albatross and they glide everywhere, glide very, very quickly, and it means that they can fly in very high winds, kind of like today. They nest on crags probably for defence, and also they can't take off from the ground very well. Just like a glider, you can see them flying around on their really stiff wings. They can't flap very easily.
They look quite calm and quite peaceful up there, but they've got a bit of an aggressive tendency, haven't they?
If somebody's daft enough to disturb them or get too close, fulmars have got a tube at the top of their nose which they can vomit a really sort of foul-smelling, fishy vomit out up to a couple of metres. And it hasn't happened to me, but apparently if it lands on you, you can forget about washing your clothes. You just have to throw them away because it's so bad.
So we've got the fulmar here.
Yeah.
Whereabouts then would the peregrines be?
They'll nest reasonably close to each other. The peregrine don't seem to bother with the fulmar, and vice versa. I've been told that fulmar don't actually taste very good to peregrines, but I can't say I've actually tried one.
They don't fancy getting the vomit in their face.
Something like that, yeah. The pair that we have here have been together for about 8 years, and they generally pair for life. However, last year the male managed to get rid of the old missus and get in a younger bird, literally. She was probably just around about a year old because she still had brown plumage rather than the slate grey plumage that the older birds have. And because of that, she wasn't mature enough to actually breed with. So whether he'll kick her out and get the old wife back for this year, I'm not sure.
So they do tend to be monogamous. This would be unusual.
Yeah, they tend to pair for life. So it is unusual. During that time, the poor old missus had to hang around and just bide her time until he got sick of the young one.
Oh, she should dump him. He's just a dirty old man. So tell me about the hunting, because they're pretty vicious, aren't they, in how they hunt?
They'll tend to fly very, very high up, so the prey is unaware of them, and they'll stoop down, tuck in the wings in, and they'll dive down at speeds of up to 180 mile an hour. And at the last minute, they'll flash their legs out and their talons out, and it's the impact from their legs that actually breaks the back or breaks the neck of the bird that they're trying to catch.
So, do you have any other birds of prey here?
Yeah, we've got about 3 pairs of buzzards that nest along the cliff line.
People quite often get buzzards confused, don't they, with other birds of prey?
Yeah, they're often called the English eagle because they are pretty big birds. I mean, the females, which are bigger than the males, can have wingspan up to sort of 5 foot. They tend to hover around quite a bit and use thermals to fly around rather than things like peregrine, which are quite speedy flyers, but like a jet fighter. Buzzards' wings are very broad and very long, with long sort of finger-tipped feathers at the end, and they can spread these feathers out to try and catch thermals and basically hang in the air, whereas a peregrine has, because of the shape of its wing, it's a lot more streamlined and it needs the speed to actually keep flying.
So we've got the buzzards living just up here, and then just a short distance back there we've got the peregrine falcons. So who's king of the jungle, the falcons?
If they cross each other's territory, if the peregrine was to wander into buzzard territory, the buzzards would have a go at the peregrines, but usually the buzzards would come off worse, despite the fact that they're a lot bigger than the peregrines, because the peregrines are so agile. They can tend to have a bit of a grapple, and the buzzards will lose a few feathers each time, and the peregrines get off scot-free.
And you can find out more about St Cyrus National Nature Reserve by visiting Scottish Natural Heritage's website. Here's the address: nnr-scotland.org.uk. Back now to the Ice and Mixed Climbing Championships for the final event, the men's dry tooling. And with only a few points separating the top climbers after the ice climb, we're set for a nail-biting climax. We're joining the action as Alan MacDonald takes to the wall. He was one of 3 climbers who scored 80 points on the ice.
Alan's approach is slightly less technical than some, but it is extremely effective.
He is a powerful boy, isn't he? Not the classic build of a competition climber either, but...
No, but a classic build of a Scottish winter mountaineer.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a very, very strong hook.
And whatever you make of dry tooling as a part of climbing, it certainly is exciting viewing.
Absolutely. And one thing about Alan as well, 3 days ago he had took an injury in his arm, has a hematoma in his right arm. That's major bruising.
And if you notice, he's not bending his arms much. All that power is coming from his shoulders and his back, just rolling his shoulders into each move. There you go. Keep the arms straight as you can.
And that, of course, will conserve the energy for this part of the climb. A lot of straight arm stuff. Double-handed pull-ups on single axe. He's looking good. I wonder if he'll be I wonder if he'll be our first top out.
Oh, he's fumbled the axe.
That will be so frustrating. He dropped the axe. My goodness, it was all going so well.
He's going to go for it. He'll try and go on.
I'm suggesting he might pop off here.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, that's annoying.
So Ali Robb has definitely a chance to win this. There's a lot of guys all tied with 80 points, and Ali was quite disappointed in the ice section to be ruled out by the judging decision, as many of the climbers were. Now it looks as though this is actually a placement on it. Yeah, it is a placement to be had. Yeah. So he's hooked there, and the fact that the strainer moves around will not be helping. It will be much more difficult. And as we saw last year, there were climbers using the top of it. Now making it swing. Very sensible.
Considering he just came out, pretty much had about a couple of minutes to look at this route and then take it on board.
So next hold looks big. Swapping hands.
Just keeping the feet on or in contact with the rock.
And if you fall off there, you will headbutt that post.
Yeah, a big swing.
We're now into the meat of the story, though. 2 very small holds. This next one looks not great, and the one above it looks really difficult.
And remember, of course, that left toe is pushing on that, what looks like a fairly decent hold, but
he's on 80 points if he matches it. Searching for the foothold. He's just missed it.
He is there, but he's missed it. You're right. Oh, he's just to his left foot there.
Dear.
My goodness.
One move from the top. He has to clip that bolt. He's not allowed to climb past it. Oh, axillary.
That was very, very impressive.
That's pretty good climbing.
And 80 added to his 80. To me, that makes 160. Tony Stone, 21 years old, student from Edinburgh. You'll remember that he actually got to the top of the ice climb twice. He went up so fast, had a foot fault first time. Second time, he actually got to the top but didn't put the ice axe in both hands and plant his feet in the finish point. So he's only scored 85 out of a possible 90.
Very awkward, that piece of wood moving around like that.
We saw Ali Robb earlier using it as a pendulum to kind of rock up into the next big hold. What will Tony do? Oh, he's been told he can't use the top.
I got the top.
Which must be the worst news he's heard all day.
Make it swing.
Make it swing, but unfortunately...
Oh, he
my
dropped his axe
goodness.
and caught it again.
All this, and juggling too. Well, Tony Stone be the first man to top out in this competition. Yep. Oh yeah.
Cross through. Yeah.
So-
Looking for the good bit of that. It's not over yet.
And all he has to do now is get the hook on the top.
That's it.
There it is.
Well done. It's our
Hey.
first top out of the day.
Now, Tony Stone gets 90 points for that. He should have got 90 points for his ice climb, but only got 85. But at the moment, he is in the lead. And this is the only man who can beat him, Kevin Shields. Top out on the ice. He needs to top out here, and the title is his. But lots of support from the
Lots
crowd
of support,
here.
and he's making progress. That's all that counts so far.
Oh my goodness, that's really, really difficult to do what he's doing there. Of course, that thing's moving around.
So once again, clipping in a fairly exposed position.
And every time Kevin clips in, of course, he has to clip him with his right hand. There's no choice.
I hope they don't rip out the wood.
Oh, not in that position. That would be very uncomfortable. Is he going to go back into a figure of four? No. Oh, he's only got a minute left. Oh, he's missing it.
This is a brave performance.
This is a gutsy performance, and no mistake.
I still don't think there's need to be doing all the figure of fours.
Well, I think that's cost him time, Duncan. I don't think he's going to make it to the top off the back of this.
There's absolutely no need to be doing that. He just needs to be on his feet.
Oh my
Getting in and out
goodness.
of those is absolutely horrific on your stomach muscles. It's very, very tiring.
10 seconds. Come on,
Go on,
Kevin.
use your feet on the holds.
He needs to.
He's just not using his feet.
It's the wrong decisions, unfortunately. That's maybe cost him the title, although let's face it, getting to the top of this is not simple. That's time. Kevin Shields
Oh, well, he's
didn't
bailed.
quite make it to the top. He
So-
did get 60 points though.
A brave but disappointing 60 points there.
And that means Kevin finishes with a grand total of 150 points, putting him into 4th place. Alan McDonald and Ali Robb both gained 160, but in the lead with 175 points, and this year's winner of the Ice and Mixed Climbing Championships is Tony Stone.
I'm happiest on the quietest mountain crag on earth, to be honest. As long as it's dry and sunny, that's good. I really don't like comps at all. I just get incredibly nervous and shake a lot.
But shaking or not, it's been a great day for Tony Stone. And that's it for this edition of the Adventure Show. Next month we're heading outdoors for the inaugural Highlander Mountain Marathon. So here's hoping for some good weather. We'll see you then.